But I had a reality check in July 2nd of 1984. You can imagine all of the time that I was spending on my hobbies and on my work. I had no time for my family. I neglected my family. And the wake-up call that I had was on July 2nd, 1984, when my wife of 18 years came up to me in the vineyard and she said, "Douglas, I'm leaving. You can have the children and the farm." And she left. I did not know how to be a father. My children were very, very rebellious because they blamed me for their mother leaving. And I was part of the cause because I wasn't there when they needed me. I was going to be able, I was going to do everything I could to learn how to be a father. The children were rebellious, and in 1986 I experienced my first stroke. And I began to seek God, the God that I had in my youth. Because in September of 1957, I was in a little Bible study group. And I was asked to read John chapter 3 to the group, and it was at that time that I realized that I was not born again. Even though I was a member of a church, I wasn't born again. And neither were the other 13 people in that Bible study. So we made a change, and we became born again that day as we asked Christ into our life. It's one thing to ask Jesus into your life. It's another thing to memorize some doctrine of a church and believing that's what gets you to heaven. But I had a little thing that happened to me just a few years after I was chasing God. We were at the school that I went to. In fact, I relate to this guy right here. I'm not an aeronautical engineer. I'm chemical. But I had a vision in when I was in the 7th grade. And that vision was I wanted to be an engineer. And in order to be an engineer, you have to prepare to get there. You have to think of, well, I need to be educated. I need to learn as much as possible. I need to go to the right schools to be able to do that. Well, the school that I had selected, my parents had to move from a rural area into the city of Baltimore, Maryland. And it was an engineering prep school. When the school was founded in 1866, it was in a nice area. When I went there, it was in a ghetto. And we would travel in groups for protection because the practice fields were 1.5 miles away from the school. And one day, we were jumped by a gang, and the 2 people that were with me, they ran off and left me. And it was quite a battle. I got the heck beat out of me, but I did not go to the ground. And I finally made it up to the practice field, and they both came up. They said, "We knew you could fight, but we were afraid. Will you forgive us?" And I said, "No." I did not realize the impact that that would have on my life. Right at that time that I said, "No, I will not," it separated me from God for the next 26 years. Tremendous impact, even though I still went to church and did things that you would see other people do. I lost that vertical relationship with my daddy. And here I just mentioned that I had a stroke in 1986. In October of 1987, I was having my second stroke. I was in a room bigger than this. The pressure in my head was so great, I thought it was going to explode all over the place. I knew I was at my last moment in life. I wanted the daddy that I had relationship with when I was in 1957. Where was that daddy that I had then? And out of desperation, I said, "Jesus, you can have all of me." And immediately he came into my presence. The pressure in my head immediately left, and I was standing before a mighty God, a very righteous, and I never had felt such love and compassion of a father in all of my life. And when he came into my presence, he said, do my will. And immediately I thought, Father, what is your will? And then he said, as I have forgiven you, so must you forgive others. And then he showed me a video clip. And in the video clip was a frame, and every single frame had a picture of a person that I had not forgiven. And the first one was my dad. The second was me. And then those two men that ran off from me. And then it went on. But I saw it in a millisecond that he showed before me, and I realized that I had to forgive him. I said, Father, I forgive them. And as I said that, I felt the breaking of change and bondage come off of me. He gave me some spiritual gifts at that time that had occurred. I wasn't sure what happened to me. I received tongues and visions and things like that. And I asked my friends around me, Bill, and I said, what happened? And they said, we don't know. There's nothing we can help you with. So in November of 1987, I said, Father, is there someone for me? Help me to be a father. And send me someone to mentor me. So those three things. He was helping me with my children. They were getting a little better. And in April of 1988, I was at a dinner. And as I looked out, I saw this lady. She was walking down. She was glowing. I saw her in the spirit. And next to her walking were these two large angels. They were like 10 foot tall. And I said, Lord, is that the one? And immediately he put love in my heart for that lady. And I would say probably within less than 3 weeks we were engaged and we were married in September 3 of 1988. But you know, God is so good. The second part was, how do I be a father? Now, I mentioned that I had a vineyard. I was getting ready to put in a commercial winery. And my daughter of 14 years at that time, she came up to me and she said, Dad, I see nothing wrong with taking a drink. You see, I had a wine cellar. I had over $23,000 worth of spirits in my wine cellar. That wine cellar, by the way, was air conditioned and prepped before I even air conditioned the house. My priorities were mixed up. And I realized that I had to remove it because a friend of mine, the day before she said that, told me a little story. And that little story had to do with a couple that were out and they were killed in an automobile accident. And the father was enraged, and the father went out into all the town, and he was looking to find out who sold them that alcohol, because the accident was alcohol related. After 2 days of being tired, he couldn't find anybody. He came home, and then as he began to sit down and relax, he went to his liquor cabinet and he opened up the cabinet door, and there was a note from his daughter. Dad, I hope you don't mind that I took this.